What's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. Today is the 1st of November 2016, and I am showing you 46 cards out of the entire Illuminati card game. These 46 cards aren't the entire card game, and they're also not a new addition to the Illuminati card game. These are 46 cards that I picked out of the entire deck that directly correlate to activities that have happened in the past year alone, which leads me to believe that we are in fact in the end game. They are pulling out all the stops, so much so to the point that 46 cards out of the entire Illuminati card game can be tied to events that are happening and shaping our reality around us right now. Seeing how this is nearest and dearest to my heart, let's start with this, the censorship card. Everybody can relate to this for the most part. There it is, the censorship card. Well, in 2016 alone, censorship has grown exponentially, and it's coming at us from every single platform, forum, and venue. For instance, I just put this video out a couple of hours ago, and I showed several of my favorite channels, along with myself, which is one of my favorite channels, that are being censored right out of existence for the most part. Myself, True Stream Media, Scariest Movie Ever, Black Pigeon Speaks, several serious channels are being censored right out of the subscription feed. Facebook isn't allowing people to post videos. Twitter is knocking people right out of Twitter. And the mainstream is just covering everything up as though nothing's going on at all. So that covers that one. Now this one also again ties to my channel, hallucinations. Check this out. This is the first time we've seen anything like this. This happened right back in early mid-October, and it was a really strange case where first responders were called to respond to an incident where the victim was hallucinating, and the hallucination somehow spread by touch to the police officers as well as the EMTs. And I stated in this video that I thought that it was a beta test, something that could be applied to the water or spread through the air. Full moon indeed. How many times this year have we seen unexpected blood moons, holographic looking moons, or moons that just didn't play the way they were supposed to? This was a picture taken over New York City, where there was an unexpected, unscheduled blood moon. This looks entirely supernatural, if not fabricated by a holographic machine. You see what I'm saying? I mean, how insanely crazy is that? That is the wrong size, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Again, isolationism. Now, what recent presidential candidate have we heard that wants to build a wall entirely around the United States? Does that sound familiar? Exactly. Well, that leads to another card. Look familiar? Absolutely. It's all part of the game. This was what we would call the enough is enough card, or the Trump card. Indeed. You ever feel like you're getting played? Exactly. Exactly. Enough said. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like this particular pick, but it is what it is. There's no way that you reach 1.5, 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube, constantly complain that you're being censored while your channel continually grows, and you're always being called out by the mainstream or the presidential candidates.
You listen to the radio host Alex Jones. Who listen to the radio host Alex Jones. The radio host Alex Jones. Host Alex Jones. Host Alex Jones. Host Alex Jones. Who claims that
things like this, where he had claimed he was attacked and he was actually caught on video instigating the entire thing. This blew up kind of big. And yet people still follow him at any rate. This one just goes without saying. We're well aware of it. We're watching it all around us at all times. Now this one, France. This one showed up several times this year. France played their part numerous times. Remember this well-coordinated hoax? This was ridiculous, and we happened to be doing a live stream while this was going on, and we called it out for a fake hoaxed incident as it occurred. Everything to the fake gun holes in the windshield to the mannequins lying in the road. France indeed has played their part. This is just one occasion. The earthquake projector. Now this is a good one. This has just happened recently, but this happens quite a bit. When politics, threats of sanctions, so forth and so on don't work, they switch over to the earthquake machine. Yes, Dorothy, they do have one. And it looks like this. And there's many of them. And there's a couple of mobile units as well. HAARP can induce earthquakes, and its signature is 10 kilometers deep. Recently, Italy learned about this. Italy was given legislation, and they didn't go along with it, so they had to be prompted forward with the earthquake projector. This is just one of the recent earthquakes. They're all in the 6 on the Richter scale, because that's another one of their signatures, and they're all at 10-kilometer depths, which is a signature for HAARP, or the earthquake projector. And again, that's 2 cards, no waiting. Now this one's a good one, because this really shows how ISIS was a planned out organization that would be used in the future in combination with 3D printing technology that would place satanic structures or statues or icons all around the world, and that has been going on as we speak. Exactly. But there's also a silver lining for the Illuminati or the elite to this entire project. You see what I'm saying? There's also one in New York City as well. This was all 3D printed, and it all ties back to that one particular Illuminati card. So that one, much like it says on the card itself, kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Nice. This wasn't planned out hundreds of years ago. Not at all. Exactly. Oh my. How can I explain this one? Or does it even need explaining?
All this. Why aren't I 50 points ahead?
Here's your problem. Someone set this thing to evil.
Do I really have to say anything more? They have gotten more mileage out of this evil witch than any 10 people alone, except maybe for Bill Clinton, another Illuminati card that's gotten so much mileage, but has also played his role perfectly this year and this year alone. Perfectly. Just one of Bill's many contributions to the Hillary campaign this year alone. But Bill Clinton pops up, like the gift that keeps on giving, much like herpes or some other virus. But Bill Clinton just keeps popping up. Hillary and Bill have been playing their Illuminati card game on their own for the longest time, and they just don't seem to go away. And they will play heavily into the fall of this country, and they already have. Now this one, you'd have to be a real space person to understand this, but this year alone we have heard so much about outer space and how quickly and easily we're going to get there and how it will solve all our problems. Number 3 that seems to be going under the radar quite a bit is Mark Zuckerberg, Yuri Milner, and Stephen Hawking are spending $100 million searching for aliens on Proxima b.
Ex-founder Elon Musk has stated his team will be able to land humans on Mars between the years 2026 and 2028.
Indeed. So it's just ridiculous. We can't go back to the moon, or they claim we don't go back to the moon, and many think the moon isn't even something that can be landed on. Yet within 10 years, we'll be colonizing Mars. It's just ridiculous, and the band plays on. And the good polls card. Well, look at any newspaper, any online opinion poll, anything, and all of them show Hillary Clinton firmly in the lead, even though nobody on the planet, except for the few social justice warriors and libtards, are voting for her. If this was a real country, Trump would have to be leading, and according to the polls, Hillary is leading, even though the entire world hates her, as they should. Now, if you live on this planet, you know that this is just absolutely ridiculous. And if you realize that this game exists, it all makes much more sense. Yes, the conspiracy theory card. Indeed, indeed. This term has been weaponized by the Central Intelligence Agency back in 1967, which coincidentally enough is the same year that I was born. But conspiracy theorists, we have never heard the term more, any time more than in 2016. And of course, there's always Wikipedia, and of course, they add this seal from the back of the dollar bill that everybody walks around with just to add a little more fuel to the fire that those ridiculous conspiracy theorists don't know anything. Except if you happen to actually correct Wikipedia, which it's supposed to be, that's the deal, you're supposed to be able to add facts or figures, they are instantly changed back to what the party line, we'll call it, is, which is a conspiracy theory all in itself. And this is how they do it. Because Donald Trump, several years ago, before he was told he was going to be running for president and playing his part, paying back the Illuminati for allowing to become a billionaire in the United States, because that's how it works. You don't make it in this country unless you make a deal. To all those listening, have you made a deal with the elites? No? Are you broke, working paycheck to paycheck? Exactly. Donald Trump isn't. He's playing his part right now. And here are 10 of the conspiracy theories that Donald Trump, they're attributed to. Obama didn't attend Columbia University. Trump's taxes were the subject of an audit because he's a Christian. Now, these aren't conspiracy theorists. These are real things. Vince Foster's death. He was killed again by Bill and Hillary Clinton, which are also in the Illuminati card game. Anton Scalia, indeed. Ted Cruz's father was linked to JFK's assassination. Well, that's a tough one, but I wouldn't write it off. Vaccines are connected to autism. Well, that's not a conspiracy at all. That's been out there. People just refuse to look at it because if they look at the theory, they have to act. That he witnessed thousands of Muslims celebrating. That's not a theory either. That's a video you can still find. That he was attacked by the Islamic State. I don't know about that. Climate change is a hoax. It is. Obama bribed New York's Attorney General to investigate Trump University. I don't know about that, but I'm sure it's probably got some validity to it. Now this card, conspiracy, is when they inject a conspiracy into our theater, we'll call it. Whether you want to call Flat Earth a conspiracy, the Oregon shooting hoax a conspiracy, there's so very many of them. The fact that they brought the John Benet Ramsey murder up again and that some claim that it's Katy Perry, that is a conspiracy. That's when they inject something to put people in another direction. Basically, the Mandela effect is attributed to this as well. It's hard to tell because they have an army of people working at all times to muddy the waters, to keep people distracted, to get you off the track, so to speak. And again, this one plays in heavily with the latest presidential candidate because we live in a revised reality. We are living in a movie right now. We're not living in a matrix. We're living in a media-induced movie right now. The Clone. That would play heavily to, again, Hillary. Exactly. Ever since the 9/11, Hillary goes down. The rumors have been swirling left, right, and center, and they keep feeding us this as well. So that's the one I'm going to make the connection on. It's absolutely wacky Hillary, Hillary the clone, Hillary the robot, Hillary the evil demon. Pick the one you want that fits the best, but Hillary's filling the bill, without a doubt. In 2016, we saw this ramp up exponentially. Computer security. Indeed. Let's take a look.
He is a real-life Cyberman, a scientist with an implanted computer chip. A tiny lump is all that gives it away.
Well, we're thinking of a whole variety of options for how you could do better at authentication. So you can start with nearer-term things like tokens or fobs that might have NFC or Bluetooth embedded in them, but you can also think about a means of authentication that you could simply wear on your skin every day for a week at a time, say an electronic tattoo.
Indeed. Now, 2016 wasn't the pinnacle of epidemics, but they sure tried. And we don't even know if they succeeded because they pushed Zika and sprayed people like there was no tomorrow. No pun intended.
We're opening for the day. A low-flying plane dropped chemicals to kill mosquito larvae. A welcome dousing, but not at 9 a.m.
I don't need my employees to be rushing from their car to the building so they don't get sprayed on top of themselves.
With this particular outbreak, the cure was actually the disease, and they sprayed us like bugs and didn't seem to care. They sprayed it in cities, they sprayed it from planes, they sprayed it on land, they sprayed it from helicopters. They sprayed it, they sprayed it, they sprayed it. And still, the epidemic continues. Ah, the International Weather Organization. You know, the guys that bring you things like the hurricane's going to kill you and everyone you know, and no one's going to survive.
Daytona Beach, all the way up to Jacksonville. This moves 20 miles to the west, and you and everyone you know are dead. All of you. Because you can't survive it. It's not possible unless you're very, very lucky. And your kids die too.
Now, in my almost 50 years of living in the United States, and almost exclusively living on the East Coast, when a storm comes, you simply pick up things that may become airborne in your backyard and stock up on batteries for the flashlight. In this day and age, in this new revised reality, the Weather Center tells you not only is the storm going to come in, it'll be absolutely unsurvivable. Everybody needs to evacuate as the government decides. And if you don't, you will be killed. It is absolutely impossible to survive it, and your kids will be killed as well. That's where we live right now, and it's all been part of the plan. Oh my, this one could take a while. Emergency powers. Well, those just don't seem to have an ending, ever. The amount of emergency powers the government has granted itself in the last 7.5 years, just the last 7.5 years, but this past year alone are staggering and should be absolutely frightening. The government is preparing to take over, take everything you own, you've worked for, that you have the title for, away from you, and your freedom as well. And it's a law, FYI. Think of it what you will, but it is a law.
And tonight, the vetting of the president continues as we bring you another edition of The Real Obama. Now, in this installment, we shine the spotlight on an executive order that the White House was hoping that you would never learn about. Now, the president signed Resources Preparedness Executive Order late Friday afternoon, and since that time, now the measure has been virtually ignored by the mainstream media. Now, the order essentially gives the President of the United States absolute power over any and all American resources during both times of peace and national crisis. Now, this includes, but is not limited to, food and livestock, water, plants, energy, health resources, transportation, and construction materials, and gives the government the ability to, quote, control the general distribution of any material, including applicable services, in the civilian market. Now, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney laughed off a question about the document at today's briefing.
And of course they laughed it off, because they're laughing because this is just one of hundreds that have been signed. The government now has the ability to take you, if you're a professional in a certain area that they require to take over the country and take away everyone else's rights, they can seize you and make you work for no pay for the government to overthrow the citizenry. Now look that up. It's not hard to find, but that card's been in the works for a long time, and they're done. And this little doozy. When I first saw this several years ago, I kind of laughed it off. But now, if you watch the news, you'll see it because it's making its rise. Exactly. Their latest fear porn thing. This guy's missing a leg. People are afraid to eat oysters because of the risk of catching the latest flesh-eating disease. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Conjured up, spread around, more and more fear porn. It just doesn't end, but it does exist, and it's been in the works since at least 1989. This card doesn't require any explanation. This card is always in play. This year, last year, the year before, next year. This card just doesn't go away. This card is behind any and all, period. Now, I found this card odd. The Ford Motor Company, or Ford Motor Company. Now, why do I show this? Well, check this out. I just saw this the other day. Ford Motor Company's profits dropped over 50%. Time to worry, October 27, 2016. I just found it odd, and I think it's something to keep an eye on because apparently it's their turn to be played. Or it's their turn to leave the country and lose all those jobs as well, which is again part of the Illuminati plan. This one's pretty personal to me, and if you guys remember this, I'm looking at this as a scientist. Notice the electricity, much like Tesla, in the background, and it says foiled. Well, let's go back down memory lane. Exactly. Weasel apparently shuts down world's most powerful particle collider. Now, the fact that CERN is CERN, and it's a Large Hadron Collider, and it's built 300 feet underground, I bet you, just from the building I've done in my lifetime, which is very extensive, I bet you they made preparations so that a rodent or a burrowing animal couldn't affect the underground facility at all. So when I saw that particular Illuminati card, it made me think of the weasel. Moving on. Now, this one pretty much goes without saying, but I'd have to say in 2016 alone, this card right here is playing its part more so than ever before.
What the hell? What the fuck? Stop! Record it! I'm recording. Get out! What the hell, man? What the fuck? Is there a reason why you're videotaping?
Because I have the right to.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine. I'll come talk to you then.
Okay.
I'm not resisting at all.
So this is what happens now, right?
What's happening? There's videotaping police officers doing work. That's fine.
2 law enforcement officers fired nearly 18 rounds at the SUV.
There were a lot of shots fired that night. They were coming in one direction. There's nothing for us that indicates any fire.
Fired nearly 18 rounds at the SUV.
There were a lot of shots fired that night. They were coming in one direction. There's nothing for us that indicates any fire coming from that SUV. There was no weapon found in that vehicle.
Young Jeremy was hit by 5 bullets in the head and the chest, killing him at the scene. The 4 marshals were pursuing the driver because there was an outstanding warrant. This morning, the Louisiana State Police tell us there is no evidence of warrant even exists.
Richard, put your fucking hands up right now on the seats. Hands up! Hands on the fucking... Put your fucking hands up, I'm gonna shoot you. I will shoot you. Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! I will shoot you again, hands up! Hands up! You fucking know I'm gonna shoot you, get on the fucking ground! Get on the ground! There's actually some more shots fucking fired! Get the bar! Hey, get to the back of the bar! Get to the back of the bar! Hey, get to the back of the bar! Get to the back of the car! Get to the back of the car! Shots fired! Shots fired! Gonna get hurt again? Alright, so take it between you. I'm just gonna walk with you. Alright, knuckle, put arm. You work. Safe. Alright? Don't worry about safety. I'm not about to murder. Alright? Fine. Not harm. Not harm you. Alright? Good. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Move!
Now, with this particular topic, I could go on and on and on. Police officers are no longer police officers. They are law enforcement. And they're all dressed the part, and they all have the latest weaponry, and they all use assault rifles, and they all have the latest gadgets, and they are trained to shoot and empty a magazine. I could go on and on. Police officers or law enforcement in this country have killed more American citizens than terrorism ever could, or war has this year alone. 1,200 people so far and counting have been killed in 2016. This is the new norm.
Hey, 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 put the knife down. Put the knife down. Put the knife down.
And notice the girl right there doesn't miss a beat. Nobody really cares. It's all part of the revised reality. It's all part of the show. And it's working like a champ, in my opinion. If I have to explain this one to you, you don't belong on this channel. But big media, in 1989, over 50 different outlets owned the media. The movie studios, the television networks, the magazines, the newspapers. It's now down to 6, and 6 is the number they show us. It's more like one entity controls all the media. The media is gone. It's over. The media lies to everybody. The media tells people how they should think and how they should think about other people. Never in history that we know of, because again, the media tells us our history, never in history have people been guided so very much by talking heads on a screen. It tells you how to dress, what to think of things in the world, what to think of other people, what to be afraid of, what to eat, what not to worry about, what you should protest, what you shouldn't protest, so on and so on. And I hope that's why you're on this channel now. And it's another reason why this channel is now in trouble, as well as many other channels. Some of the channels that are hitting it too directly on the head are now being censored. People don't get our videos as we upload them. They mess with the views by up to 50% that I can prove. People can't thumbs up a video. People can't share the video. Facebook won't allow the video on, and so on and so on and so on. It's all a direct result of big media. Now, they changed the name of this one, but this one still freaks me out because it's supposed to be one of the newest technologies, and it was still put in the card game back when the card game was initially developed back in 1989. I believe this was the name that they were looking for, the CRISPR technology. And it's genome editing software, which is just another eugenics program. Somebody in your family have freckles and you want to get rid of it? Somebody in your family have small hands. Somebody in your family have red hair, so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. CRISPR products and services you can simply buy right now. CRISPR 101. This is the downfall of humanity, and they knew about it more than 30 years ago. Oh my, hasn't this taken a radical upswing in 2016? Let's take a look. Okay, if you're not familiar with this, this is called a slut walk. Now, this has been all the rage, and it's really taken off in the last year. It's a woman's right to be a slut. Now, the best analogy I've heard so far is if a person walks up to you and you're dressed up as a police officer and they ask you for help, you simply look at them and say, just because I'm dressed up like a police officer doesn't mean I can help you. Well, that plays this way too. These women believe they can dress up like sluts for whatever reason because of social engineering, but they shouldn't be treated as such. So feminism on steroids, it's just ridiculous, and it's helping the downfall of society. The Center for Disease Control. That one should go without saying. Think Ebola. Think Zika. Think vaccines. Think, think, think. I'm not even going to show you anything because if you've been on this channel for any length of time, you're well familiar with the CDC. Now, this applies directly to our latest presidential candidate and our past presidential candidate who was put into office without a birth certificate with a dead man's social security card. Organizer-in-chief Barack Obama and what looks exactly like Hillary Clinton sitting right there. If you watched our last live stream with Anthony Patch and myself, you heard us talking about Bill Ayers, the Weather Underground, and Saul Alinsky and his rules for radicals. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at it manifesting in reality this year alone. Black Lives Matter, backed up by the powerful billionaire and country destroyer George Soros in Greenville, South Carolina. Black Lives Matter, that you notice is more than half white people that are protesting as Black Lives Matter, disrupting the Trump rallies as much as they can, and even inducing violence with absolutely no fear of arrest because the police don't do anything to Black Lives Matter, which is just ridiculous, but it is where we are. Black Lives Matter compilation, again, disrupting a Trump rally because that's their job and that's what they're paid for by George Soros. Yes, every single group in the United States has been infiltrated by our ever-expanding government, CIA, state police, local police, Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, on and on and on and on. But yes, this is a prime example of what that card meant and what that card was alluding to. This one, as well as the next one, are a personal favorite of mine. Air magic. Air magic, indeed. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine because I think that the air that we all have to breathe in order to stay alive is kind of important. Yet, whenever you try to point out the fact that they're spraying the atmosphere with soft metals that cause autism, Alzheimer's, and a variety of attention deficit disorder, depression, so forth, so on, blah, 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 people just don't seem to care. Because apparently there's plenty of air, even though the atmosphere looks nothing like it did just 20 years ago. This would indeed be considered air magic, because it's amazing they can completely block out the atmosphere above us, turning the once blue sky into a pale white sky that can literally block out or obfuscate the sun. And no one seems to notice. No one seems to understand it whatsoever. It's amazing to me. But it would be considered indeed air magic, much like when they stopped the storm from striking when the Pope was speaking and the Pope called it a miracle. Now this one I'm calling out because a lot of people compare it to Julian Assange. I think this is just supposed to be a mortician next to a coffin, and the zombie theme comes to mind. The fact that they pound zombies down our throat and it's in every single program should tell you something. So I'm not gonna tie this to Assange, even though it says and stay dead, but I could. Now this one right here, notice all the fraternity, the Shriner hats, the girls, the guys, the fire in the background. Well, that just brings one thing to mind, and that would be the Bohemian Grove that just occurred in 2016. Not very much coverage on this one. Alex Jones infiltrated it at one point, and he gained his fame from that because he somehow snuck into a private property area that's patrolled by Secret Service, CIA, and private security operators. And unfortunately for Alex, it slipped out in the past couple of years. There's undercover video that shows the people there that he's supposed to be, he's undercover, but they're calling him by his first name. So Alex Jones is in on it just like you think he would be. Because if Alex Jones was for real, Alex Jones would no longer be with us. But at any rate, the annual convention ties to the annual Bohemian Grove. I thought I'd throw that in there because it applies. And Canada. Canada. Not this year alone, we have heard so much about the Justin Trudeau, or Canada's Obama, flooding the country with Muslims, trying to turn everyone else into a Muslim, so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. Canada is not my country, so that's on you guys to expose them. But yes, Justin Trudeau is, in fact, Canada's Obama. His job is to destroy Canada, and he's well on his way to doing so, in my opinion. The car bomb. I may be off by a month or so on this one, but this car bomb right here it brings me straight back to Michael Hastings. He died at 33, which is their secret favorite number. He was allegedly going to release information that was going to take the CIA to task on their dirty deeds, and then magically enough, his car goes out of control, explodes, then hits a tree, whilst throwing its Mercedes-built German-engineered engine almost a football field down the road, which is indicative of an explosion, and it plays into that card perfectly. Michael Hastings was what Alex Jones claims to be, and he's dead for it, and that's how that works. And the ubiquitous meteor strike. Meteor strike. How many times this year have we seen this? From the skull-faced meteor that was going to hit us last year by NASA to the ones that just went by us again by NASA. And then Russia gets their mysterious meteor strike. Or was it? It's hard to tell, but this card is always in play, and this card's going to be played much more. And most of my audience don't even believe that this is something that can happen on our particular realm that we live in right now. The Deep Agent. Now, this one I may contribute to Julian Assange, because many, many people believe that he's simply playing his part, and a lot of the information that WikiLeaks is dropping doesn't actually put the nail in the coffin, it just furthers the argument on both sides. So it's difficult to tell right now, but I thought I'd throw this one in. I'm trying to keep this brief because I can see that I'm almost at 40 minutes as it is. I really don't have to say anything else. I would like to think you guys understand. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, this is their definition of the Illuminati card game. It's a standalone card game made by Steven Jackson Games, SJG, inspired by the 1975 book. It says in September of '81, discussed their shared administration of the Illuminatus trilogy, and later suggested a game. The reason I'm not reading this as though it's a real description is because I don't believe it at all, because it's Wikipedia. We went over them already in this video. This video is getting long. Story has it, rumor has it, that George Bush, when he was in charge of the CIA, kicked down the door of this place a long time ago and had a talk with Steven Jackson. The fact that the game is still available, still costs $300 to $500 on eBay, lets you know that there's definitely legitimacy. And the fact that I didn't go through all the cards because there's no need to. They've already been played out in our reality right now. It's amazing that the people that are running this country, that are all bowing down to a Luciferian entity, play us like we're a game. And if you want to see the entire Illuminati card game collection, I'll leave you a link in the description. Go over to USA Hitman, and he has them all, as well as the real story behind it. At any rate, I tried to keep this as short as possible. As you can see, there's a lot of cards, and I didn't put them all in this because they've already been played out. These guys are pretty much at the end game, and that's something to keep in mind. I'll leave you links in the description. I'm Richie from Boston. I hope this helped you. I hope it made a little bit of sense. And I'm out.